A lot of tension in the country today, no doubt. We'll start with that, and then we'll release the tension.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Because still, sports in this country are supposed to release the tension, right? And you can live vicariously through Mark and Dondero tonight because he will release your I just enjoy hanging out with him because he just lets it go. And actually, I saw one of his, bloggy videos on Twitter. I don't even know how you refer to him these days. And I retweeted it because I thought it was really kind of gutsy what he said about a perhaps quarterback controversy avoided with Jimmy Garoppolo's injury this weekend. I don't want to get too far into it. Mark will. Welcome in. Nice to have you. But getting back to the tension, it certainly is one, no doubt, in America today. And I'm not just talking about the presidential race. Obviously, Charlotte, North Carolina is on the minds of a lot of folks. Tulsa, Oklahoma as well. Let's go to the rundown and just take a look at some of the stuff. And really, it's a day about police and politics and of it all. The headlines are incredible and the stories are tragic. First one, Tulsa.
All right, Betty Jo, where are you at?
Terrence Crutcher's sport utility vehicle was idling in the middle of a Tulsa road Friday night.
He's got his hands up there for her now.
His hands were up and he was walking.
This guy's still walking.
Tulsa police said Crutcher failed to obey officers' commands and tried to reach inside his vehicle. The 40-year-old father of four was tased by one officer, then shot by another.
Shots fired!
This is clearly a case of excessive force.
In an attempt to refute the police department's reason for deadly force, attorney Benjamin Crump says enlarged still images show the driver's side window was up.
How could he be reaching into the car if the window is up and there's blood on the glass?
According to KOTV, Tulsa's CBS affiliate, a police sergeant said officers found a vial of the hallucinogenic drug PCP inside Crutcher's vehicle, along with his wallet and school books. Scott Wood, who is representing Officer Betty Shelby, said Monday she pulled the trigger in fear for her life.
It went from, hey man, is this your car, all the way up to literally screaming at him to stop what he was doing.
While the Department of Justice has opened a civil rights investigation over allegations of excessive force, Officer Shelby is on paid administrative leave.
Fire! Fire!
Protesters at police headquarters said the policing was alarming.
My soul hurts. My soul hurts. That's why I'm here. Justice. It's not right. We saw the tape. Everyone saw the tape.
Police officers were not wearing body cameras the day of the shooting. The Tulsa Police Department did receive nearly $600,000 in federal grants earmarked for body cameras last year, but the department still does not have them.
Now look, you can take a look at this potential PCP problem, see the car in the middle of the road, try to make some determination as to whether or not this officer really was dealing with somebody who was, erratic. But there's nothing so far in this story from a bird's eye, and it is a bird's eye, that makes you feel like that shooting was justified. Nothing. Nothing, nada, nowhere, nothing. So that's a big problem. And so you've got that new momentum to this conversation about African American, mostly men, and law enforcement. And then we get the Charlotte story, which is really dominating the news cycle today.
Hoping for the best and preparing for the worst.
Police in Charlotte, North Carolina say they are ready for more protests after a night of violence following the fatal police shooting of Keith Lamont Scott. 16 officers were hurt as demonstrators threw rocks and bottles. Officers in riot gear fired tear gas to break up the crowds. Several police cruisers were damaged.
When that behavior becomes violent, aggressive, and destructive, we have to act as we did.
Police say Scott was spotted during a search for a suspect wanted for an outstanding warrant. They say he got out of his car carrying a handgun and ignored repeated commands to drop it.
He stepped out, posing a threat to the officers, and Officer Brentley Vinson subsequently fired his weapon.
Scott's family says he was unarmed and was reading a book when police approached him.
They jumped out their truck. They said, hands up. He got a gun. He got a gun.
Pow, 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 pow. That's it. He ain't had no gun.
But police say a handgun was recovered from the scene.
We did not find a book.
Charlotte police say their investigation will be transparent and fair. Officer Brentley Vincent has been placed on administrative leave pending the findings of the investigation.
You know, ironically, and this shouldn't be avoided in the conversation, we have another major city police chief who happens to be African American, who is now in charge of running this investigation and holding his own police department accountable. Of course, they have internal affairs, and there'll be an outside look. There'll be a Justice Department look. There generally is. Well, it depends on whether the president and the attorney general think that it's efficient or necessary to do that, rather. This one is all over the map. And there's a couple of things that I think need to be pointed out. I mean, clearly you can see for yourself that there's a big discrepancy between whether this victim ended up having a book or a gun. And I think there's a big difference between the two. And so you've got this erratic rumor mill versus what seems to be the preliminary evidence, and they'd be crazy to make that up, right? So that's number one. Number two, I guess the guy got out of the car, went back in the car, got out of the car a second time with this gun, making everybody a little bit nervous. Then again, you hear that this gentleman is there every day to attend to his child, picking up from school and being in the neighborhood. So it's really, really hazy. But you gotta be careful. You know, when police are asking you to do something, you gotta do it. And I don't see necessarily the connection between Charlotte and Tulsa. They're 2,000 miles apart, and the facts of the case seemingly are very, very different, right? Last night, you had three phases of protest. You had a peaceful protest in Charlotte, and then people got a little unruly, and then an hour or so later, out-of-town folks, it seemed, came running in to create the kind of havoc that resulted in 16 officers being hurt and multiple police vehicles being damaged. And so this is a complicated situation. It fuels a lot of discontent. It's tragic. And then the tragedy also is the people who take advantage of it. And not just folks who have a point of view or an axe to grind or a cause to try to win no matter what the facts. The politicians obviously get involved in this. Hillary Clinton tweeted out about the Tulsa story. Listen, if she's only talking about the Tulsa story and the lost life for Terrence Crutcher, she's got a point. She's also got an electorate, a constituency that she's trying to hold on to in a big, big way there. She also, last night on the Steve Harvey program, said the following: we got to tackle the systemic racism, this horrible shooting again. How many times do we have to see this in our country? Maybe I can, by speaking directly to white people, say, look, this is not who we are. We've got to do everything possible to improve policing to go right at implicit bias. I don't think Hillary Clinton needs to encourage white people in America to come to her side on this. I'm pretty white. I think most of this audience, just based on the demographics, are pretty white, and we're horrified by this. So I'm not sure where she's going there. Intentional or not, there's a just feeding into the separation of people. And then Donald Trump, of course, is involved in the tweeting situation here. And, situations in Tulsa and Charlotte are tragic. We've got to come together to make America safe again. Well, that's fairly benign. Hopefully the violence and unrest in Charlotte will come to an immediate end. Unity and leadership. Honestly, and, I might surprise you by saying this based on, previous discussion here, but Donald Trump seems to be the calmer of the two in reaction to this particular situation. That's ironic. There's another story, by the way, I just wanted to throw at you. Here's a headline that I think is fascinating. We're going to spend some time, probably did today. We tape the television show before I do the radio show on WPRI, weekdays 3 to 6. But this is a really fascinating case. So there was this gentleman who was arrested for weapons possession and convicted of such, and his case was reversed by the appellate court, it seems, because he ran from the police, and the court says, based on ACLU influence in the case, the court says that a black man not specifically identified who then comes up against the police has the right to run, and then the evidence is not necessarily admissible based on him legally running from the police. because of the kinds of profiling problems that have occurred between police and the African American community. Look the story up. It's a really interesting conversation, one that I want to explore here on the show in shows to come. I mean, I don't want to be, flippant about this. You can say crazy, but it's not all crazy. It just needs. We need to think this stuff through. And I will tell you, when it comes to terrorism and when it comes to this, I don't think we ought to be getting guidance from people who are running for high office right now, because everything they do and say is calculated. All right, end of speech. Sports. Transition. Headline. Edelman? Quarterback? Maybe?
Listen, is it wrong to say I kind of would love to see it? I'd love to see how he could play quarterback. I have some thoughts on this, but it would be fun to watch. It'd be good theater for a Thursday night football game.
When we come back, we'll get his thoughts on this and the quarterback controversy that's potentially avoided. But before we do, even though we got a little music going on there, I just want to remind you that the good folks at Cumberland Kitchen, if we could, thanks Kev, we're kind of saving this one. Cumberland Kitchen Bath Design Center wants to see you if you're contemplating for the holidays a change in the look of your home. Maybe you got a whole bunch of folks coming over for the holidays 3 months from now. Well, you got to do the proper planning for a kitchen or bath remodel. Good idea? Go to CumberlandKitchen.com and see some of the before and after photos and the pleasure that customers like me have enjoyed working with Cumberland Kitchen Bath Design Center. CumberlandKitchen.com. Right back with Mark's thoughts. Stay with us.
Our team did a lot of things well today. Obviously, there's a big momentum shift there at the end of the third, start of the fourth quarter. But in the end, I thought we, made enough plays. We'll do whatever we think's best with the team. And Jacoby's he's been working for this for a long time, all the way back into the spring, all the way through training camp. He's got a lot of reps.
Is that a new thing? The thing?
I think he's done that for a while.
The thing?
Likes lip smacking.
Is that what it is?
I'm not sure.
I try to stay above that stuff, Dan, never again. I retweeted out a little, what is that thing you do?
I call it Mark My Words.
Hashtag Mark My Words?
It feels good for me to give my opinions and stuff like that. Yanni and I have our little internet show that we do, WPRI-12 so I work on my game by doing my own videos.
I love it.
I actually built that set in my back room of my house.
Love it.
Thank you.
Love it. And then you tweet it out.
And I tweet it out.
At markdondero.com. You can spell it. It's just like it's spelled, just like it sounds. And I saw it on Twitter, and let's talk about it. You actually think, because I was thinking the same thing as I'm watching the game on Sunday. Of course, I was at a restaurant watching my Giants go to 2-0 while everyone else was screaming bloody murder, hoping the Patriots would hold on. What do you want? Kevin's directing, and he's looking for trouble. Patriot fan. But I'm thinking, you know what? This Garoppolo is playing too well. This sucker could go 4-0, and then what do you do with Tom? Of course Tom starts, but it could be a thing.
It would have been a thing. It would have been a conversation that people would have been having, and it would have been complicated for the Patriots. Now, Bill Belichick did say prior to the season even beginning that Tom Brady in Week 5 would reassume the starting position.
No matter what.
No matter what. But Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't playing okay, wasn't playing good, wasn't even playing great. He was playing elite-level quarterback. That had to be taken note. So, I don't know what Bill would have said come Week 5 had he continued to do that for 2 games, finished the Dolphins game. He already had 3 touchdown passes and 280 yards in the second quarter. He finishes that game strong, goes on, Houston plays well, then plays well again in Buffalo, and if they were ever 4-0, and this kid's 24 years old, we would be talking about some things. So I think I hated to see him get hurt because he waited for this opportunity. He took advantage of the opportunity. I hated to see him get hurt. But unfortunately, I do think it simplifies things for the Patriots this season. We'll see if he misses the game on Thursday night. If he does, everybody can kind of come down off that high.
That's one of the reasons we brought Mark in, because the Patriots play tomorrow night, by the way. That always impacts our 7:30 show because CBS covers, Jeopardy's on CBS. We own all these stations here. And then Jeopardy moves over to MyRI TV, so you'll see tomorrow night's show at midnight, where a lot of people find it anyway, on Fox. But the game's tomorrow night. He's got a short recoup because it's such a short week, but word is that he's not going to play. He might play.
He might play.
And if he plays well again, you're right back into your problem.
And not only that, he shows immense toughness, gutting it out, playing well through injury, through pain, and yeah, you'd be right back into it. It's a good problem to have. I'd rather have more quarterbacks that can play than no quarterbacks that can play. I just think it complicates things. Tom Brady is very beloved, obviously, not just by the fans, by the ownership, by everybody. What do? He's 39 years old. When you say it out loud, it sounds pretty easy. I just don't know.
Patriots, Jimmy Garoppolo, guilt trip. Brady played through worse. New York Post poking at Patriot Nation here. What do you make of that headline?
Let me tell you about that headline. That's fine. They can have their headlines. That's okay. There is no way, in my opinion, that Jimmy Garoppolo, I'll say it this way, there is no way that the Patriots are pressuring Jimmy Garoppolo to play more than Jimmy Garoppolo is pressuring Jimmy Garoppolo to play. He wants to play more than the team wants him to play. And they may want him to play. They may be poking him and saying, oh, Tom played through worse. Okay, good, let me play. He wants to play. He will play through pain that would make him cry to play. That's how he's thinking. Obviously I didn't play professional sports, but I did play sports at the college level. Dealt with some injuries where
Who'd you play for?
I played baseball for Bryant University right here in Rhode Island. Dealt with an injury, not to get onto my thing, but it was an injury that, I didn't know if I came out of the lineup if I'd ever get back in. He doesn't know when he'll get back in if he comes out, if Brady comes back. He wants to play more than the team wants him to play.
I think you've hit a nerve here. I think the psychological roller coaster that the fans have been on with Tom Brady, with the whole Deflategate and all the trauma involved in that, and him, just being the best 39-year-old athlete maybe in NFL history, because he looks like he can go for quite some time, and the allegiance that folks have and the affinity they have for him, it's a psycho dilemma for Patriots fans, big time. But doesn't it kind of, listen, the life cycle keeps moving on. People age. He took over for an injured quarterback, as I recall, back when this whole baby started. This is almost Back to the Future. Garoppolo for Brady, Brady for...
And I don't
Brady for brain spasm.
Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe, yeah. Right?
I'm a big Tom Brady fan, obviously. I don't want to even have this conversation. But when you say it out loud, Tom Brady is 39 years old. Now, he looks great, but he's still 39. If Jimmy Garoppolo can play and is the next great quarterback, and I defer to Bill Belichick to know whether or not he is, if he is, what am I supposed to say? And here's the worst part.
Yeah.
If you have to move on from Tom Brady, you have to do it sooner rather than later, or else you're going to just cut him and get nothing for him, and he'll end up on the Jets.
Well, the Patriots have been a mercenary organization when it comes to that kind of stuff over the course of time, right? So they always make what they think is the best choice for the organization. I have to laugh at this, though. A good buddy of mine, my neighbor, John, he says to me, you know what? Garoppolo's terrible. He's terrible. Preseason. Terrible. His passer rating. This is going to be an unmitigated disaster. Look what happens. Is that preseason tells you nothing, or is that just fans? And he's not the only one who misjudged this guy's talent completely.
I think we all underestimated him. We all misjudged him. I will say this: it has just been 5 quarters. But again, Bill Belichick has seen him for more than 2 years in practice. Then he's seen him in games. I defer to Bill, so it's not up to me, thankfully. I don't know if it's time.
We trust, right?
I don't know if it's time to move on to Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm just saying, if he is the next great quarterback, Bill, let me know. Then you would have to entertain.
But were you surprised?
I was surprised. I did not think. I thought he would look more like Matt Castle than Tom Brady.
The Patriots go 4-0 in this whole thing. What a you know what to the commissioner, huh? What up? Unbelievable. In the meantime, there's a rumor that there's a baseball team doing pretty well, and as I said to Kev yesterday in the rundown, I don't know who's talking about it. Dondero, I'm sure, will have a thought on it. Stay with us. Yeah, these Red Sox seemingly are doing pretty well, rumor is. Actually, you know what? Forgive me. They win last night?
They did.
They did. What, they 5 games up now on Baltimore?
5 up.
Yeah, and 4 on
Yeah, 5 up. course, I just stopped watching after they blew my Yankees to Kingdom Come, destroyed any chance of the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees came in, a couple of games back thinking they had a chance to maybe sneak this division and at least make a bid for the wild card. Now they're, hanging on for dear life for maybe a wild card, who knows. But the wild card's such a stupid thing, by the way. A one-game opportunity to get into another playoff series. It's just so, whoever thinks that a Major League Baseball single game is a determining factor on anybody's success or lack thereof?
I love the one-game playoff.
It's a gimmick.
I love it. I want to see the one-game playoff. It gives another team a chance to get into the tournament. I think it's fun.
All right, well, maybe the Yankees will sneak back in. I don't think so. I said to Kev last night, in Patriots Nation, is there room for both success stories here? Because I don't hear a lot of water cooler talk about the Red Sox, who have done pretty well in a season that that most people judge to be mediocre at best, right?
There's plenty of room. It's a football town now. I don't know what, maybe St. Louis is the only city that's still a baseball town. I would say most cities are football towns if the team is good. But the Red Sox have been great. They've exceeded expectations. They seem to all be coming together at the right time. And when you look at the offensive performances by some of these guys, Ortiz, chief among them, incredible. Mookie Betts has 31 home runs. Ortiz, what's he at, 35? Jackie Bradley has 26. Xander Bogaerts has 20, maybe 19. I mean, ridiculous production. Hanley Ramirez has been on fire. So this team is just great. It's fun to watch. All the runs scored.
I don't think Ramirez is as hot as you are. You're on fire.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, I do have some concern with their inability to win one-run close games, because those are the games you play in the postseason. So I have concern there when they get to the postseason, but I'll worry about that later. They're really playing well now. I'm enjoying this.
Well, I'm glad you are. I just, and I'm sure so many. I mean, listen, they're still filling Fenway, but I do get a vibe. I just wanted to confirm with you. It is a football town now.
It is.
Ironically, because the Red Sox, for decades, owned the minds and hearts of everybody who lived here.
Not anymore.
Those two championships, the early ones, maybe the first in 2004, Yankees, changed the dynamic. The bittersweet love story, again, people love the Sox, I get it, but it changed everything. They finally got the win. Now there's been two more since, and everybody's just kind of, chilled on it. Or maybe returned to some kind of normalcy. Maybe that's what it is.
It'll never be as good as 2004 for a Red Sox fan. You can't top that. So, yes, the other championships have been great. It's just not the same, and that rivalry has never been the same either, which kind of takes away some of the fun.
Will they win it all?
No.
They won't.
They will not win it all. They're pitching, they're starting pitching. They'll get cold offensively at some point. I do not think they'll win it all.
Do the Patriots win it all?
I think they could win it all. It's very early to talk about that, but I think they are capable of winning it all.
Who will be the quarterback?
Tom Brady.
In the playoffs.
Tom Brady.
No question.
No question, says Kev. You're always a pleasure, man. Hashtag.
Mark my words.
Mark my words. Follow them. It's fun. Final word. Mine. Next. With Dondero, it makes me long for sports talk radio originating back here in Providence, because in the modern age, if we could bring it back, don't you think he'd have a seat at the table? The energy is infectious. That was a relief. I told you you'd release the tension. Gotta go. Good night.